Hello, bookish friends. Welcome back to Amanda's Bookish Adventures. It is day 14 of Bookmas, and we will be talking about my top romances of the year. There are previous clips filmed of me talking about some books I read, and then you'll see the ending of me like this, and then mostly you'll be staring at my computer screen because I don't physically own a lot of the books. I check out from the library a lot, so whatever I own I will show, or whatever I had at the time from the library I will show. But I just figured I'd film the opening of this video and talk about some of them, and you'll see clips of me talking about others and then the computer. So I just read The Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark, and I've been terrified of Sophie Lark's writing because she's such a hype author. And I love this. So let me read you the back of the book and I'll tell you my experience. The Griffins and the Gallows have been battling for control of Chicago's underworld for generations. Their bitter rivalry sorry, my dyslexia. Reunites when Ada, the youngest and the wildest Gallows sibling, crashes a party at the Griffin mansion, accidentally setting a fire to the library. To starve off an all-out war, her father arranges a meeting with Callum Griffin, the eldest son and heir. Cold, ambitious, and brutal, Callum is determined to tame his headstrong bride. Ada is more than capable of giving as good as she gets, starting with poisoning Callum on their wedding night. In the struggle for dominance, who will break first? So it was two opposite worlds, kind of. They were both different mafias, but they both had two different experiences. Callum, because he is a male, he has more power than his sisters. He can lead more projects, and he gets the attention, so he wants control. He's had control all his life because of how he was raised. Ada is a girl in her family, the only girl, and she is not really as Callum's sisters. They don't get good parts in the business. Ada was overlooked. No one really, her father, when her mother passed away, her brothers cared, but she got away with anything. She could get away because no one paid attention, so she was a bit bratty, and she would do things for the heck of it. They clash, and there is control, dominance, and the chemistry is amazing. And the more as the relationship develops, I loved it. I understood the characters, and I loved the side characters, and I can't wait to continue on with this series. I want to read all the illustrations, editions, because it made my experience with my dyslexia and with my ADHD. It made me so hyper-focused on this book that I finished it. I'm going to say maybe a night and a half when I didn't have to do work and things. I finished it, and I absolutely adored it. So I just finished this one as well, Knit Pearl, A Baby and a Girl, by Hetty Bell. And this is a pseudonym. She uses her other name, her full, her huge name for her other romances, but this is the first one, I believe, with this. So it says, Poppy Adams doesn't have a life, and she wasn't ready for a positive pregnancy test, or a positive test. An unexpected baby, Poppy's unexpected baby. Oh God, why did it say unexpected twice? Baby won't have her family doing cartwheels, but she's making the right choice, right? Poppy's totally got this. She just needs a little encouragement, and a knitting group is the perfect place to start. Baby blankets, booties, tiny little hats, small steps towards her new life. But she feels like she's already dropping a stitch when she discovers the knitting group is led by charismatic Rihanna. It's not exactly a great time to meet the woman who might just be the love of her life. While the group easily shuffles around to make room for Poppy, it is not so easy fitting her life and Rihanna's together. With the weeks counting down until her baby arrives, Poppy's going to have to decide herself what truly makes a family. So it is an unexpected situation for Poppy. Her family's had a lot of control and put her down, and so she has a lot of issues, and she has choices to make. In this book, before I go on, has excellent conversations about gender, romance, choices, your body. Everything was amazing. This was so amazing. I could not believe. Then I got frustrated towards the end because a lot with traditional publish, there's always one thing, but they were both 5 stars. I was crying because of how amazing these conversations were. So Poppy has all of these issues. You meet Rihanna, who has her own set of issues, but is supporting and caring. And the knitting group is a found family. They take care of one another. So I would, like, if you have a prompt for a readathon, I would recommend this for the found family prompt, because it is absolutely amazing and I want more. I think the conversations were excellent. I hope Hattie Bell does more. Right now this is a standalone. I'm hoping we get more queer books from her, but so far this is her. She has other romances, but I think this is her first queer book. I might be wrong. I may totally have been wrong. So I have not read this, but I'm going to read it, and by the time I read it, this video will already be up. So I thought I'd talk about it. It is one of my most anticipating book releases of the year. I bought it for myself for my birthday, and then I totally forgot I had it because I got so busy with work and everything. And then I found out the companion, and I was like, no, it was hidden and then on my shelf, and then I was like, I knew I bought that. So what I'm talking about is Delilah Green Doesn't Care. And I remember reading the premise of this. The cover has been really good, and it's like enemies to lovers, and I've been nervous because there was a lot of hype when it first came out, and then I put it on the back of my mind. But it says, Delilah Green, who swore she would never go back to Bright Falls. Nothing is there for her but memories of a lonely childhood in which she was a little more than a burden to her cold and distant stepfamily. Her life in New York, with her photography career finally gaining steam and her bed never empty. Sure, there's a different woman in it every night, but that's just fine with her. When Delilah's estranged stepsister Astrid pressures her into photographing her wedding with a guilt trip and a 5-figure check, Delilah finds herself back in the godforsaken town that she's used to call home. She plans to breeze in and out, but then she sees Claire Sutherland, one of Astrid's stuck-up besties, and decides that maybe there's some fun and a little retribution to be had in Bright Falls after all. Having raised her 11-year-old daughter mostly on her own while dealing with her unreliable ex, running a bookstore, which I love, Claire Sutherland depends on a life without surprises, and Delilah Green is an unwelcome surprise at first. Though they've known each other for years, they don't really know each other, so Claire is unsettled when Delilah figures out exactly what buttons to push. When they force together during the gauntlet of wedding preparations, including a plot to save Astrid from her horrible fiancé, Claire isn't sure she has the strength to resist Delilah's charms. Even worse, she's starting to think she doesn't want to. So I am extremely excited about this. The second book is like Astrid's, and then there will be a third book next year of, I don't know what character, but there is no, I think there is a title, I can't remember, but there is a third book coming out in this companion series next year. So I'm excited to get to this. I don't know if it will be a top, because it's one of my most anticipated releases, and I'm reading it late in the year. I do want to include this. I don't know my rating for this, but I'm so hyped for it, so I thought I would include it in this video because I'm planning on reading it this week before this video comes up. So you'll see me talk about other books just in a minute, and then you'll be staring at my computer screen, and then I will see you at the end of this video. So I'm here to tell you about some of my favorite romances I read this year. So one of them is One Must Stop, and August is a loner and minimalist. She came from New Orleans. She's coming to New York. She's studied all over. She's coming to New York to have a new start, finish her degree. She ends up seeing this ad to be a roommate, so she meets Nico, who is a psychic. He works as a bartender half the time. Not a very good bartender, very on the dot. He tells her stuff and she freaks out. Psychics kind of freak her out because she comes from New Orleans, and she kind of plays it off like, no, he's just pretending. You meet Mila, who is a engineer artist, works at a Vincent shop. Love her. I love Mila. She was amazing and very supportive. All of her roommates were. Nico was my favorite side character in this book. You have Wes, who is a tattoo artist who normally doesn't come out at night, but he has a beloved dog, Noodles, and Wes has a thing for a drag queen down the hall who I absolutely adore. And then Jane goes to her first day. She's gotten a job as a waitress in a pancake factory, so she's doing good. She's got the apartment, got a job to help pay for her rent. Then she goes to her first day of college and meets Jane. A very cute. Jane is mysterious, so she gets consumed in solving the mystery of Jane. And then her roommates help her, and then she figures what Jane is, and then it's trying to help Jane, and it's amazing. The relationship is amazing. I love the queer representation in this book. Not just that, Jane, when you get into her story, what Jane has lived through, what it talks about in history, and the history of this book, and it's absolutely amazing. I cried, I have laughed, and I kind of have a crush on Jane, but I just absolutely love this book. I can't wait to reread it. I'm planning to reread it maybe in January, February, but I want to listen to the audiobook. I still absolutely love it. I do recommend it. I'm excited to read more by this author. And another one I have here before I have Love on the Brain. So you have Bee, who's a neuroengineering. She has done neuroengineering. She works at I'm not going to say one of the higher, but she gets looked down on. She's a woman in STEM. Her boss doesn't really care. She gets offered her dream project to work at NASA with a co-lead. And the co-lead is her nemesis, who she met in grad school, Levi Ward. And he's so intelligent, so smart. She's been following his career. When you read her side of how he was her nemesis, you can kind of figure it out and get it. Of course, my dad he's playing his video game, but Levi's the only one who's standing up for her in NASA. NASA doesn't want to share the project with the people, with the company she works with, or the college she works with, or the lab she works with, is what I should say. It is amazing. When you get to understand Levi and his probe and his perspective of the events, and then you get to figure out how shy he was and the way he was raised is amazing. I cried and I laughed, and I have to say I did love The Love Hypothesis, but this is currently my favorite from Ali Hazelwood. I haven't read her novellas yet, and then I think she has 2 releases in 2023, but I think one might get pushed back. I don't know. One could be a novella. I don't know. There's not much out. It says the book titles, and they come out in 2023. I'm excited for Ali Hazelwood. She is worth the hype, in my opinion. I know some people don't love her, but I highly love her, and I absolutely adore these 2. I have others on the list, but I have to go. I will have the others eventually format the video, but these 2 are absolutely amazing, and I do recommend them both. And I have laughed with both of them. I have cried. The writing is phenomenal, in my opinion, with both of these books.
So I'm here to talk about some more top romances I have read. So a romance series that I binged this year was Madison Kate. So the first one is Hate. The second one is Liar. We have Fake. And then we have Kate. Now, I have loved the Madison Kate series. I'm really excited to get in the spin-off series of these. I have not read the novella because it would spoil 2 books in the Hades series. So Madison Kate, she goes to an underground fighting club, and her dad is rich, prestigious, and because it's underground, they run from the cops, and she kind of gets trapped, meets 3 boys, and she gets arrested that night. So when she comes home, she went to jail, served a sentence. After that, she went to spend time with her aunt, and then she came home when she was 18 to go to college. And 3 boys were living at her house, so she plots her revenge. So we have Archer, Cody, and Max. I love them. It was one of my first reverse harem series. her relationship with the boys was amazing. They have a prior friendship before meeting her, and how supportive they are with each other and her was with her is amazing. We are dealing with an inheritance issue with her. We're dealing with a serial stalker killer. And throughout, we're dealing with issues with the boys, with the past traumas they had, traumas that Madison Kate has. I really love the writing, and I can't get over how this was one of my favorite romance series. I loved Madison Kate. My biggest thing I did not like, even though they were all 5 stars, is she had an immaturity issue because she was 18 when the book started. I think she was 22 when the series ended, other than the novella that would spoil the Hades. But I still loved her growth, her development, her relationship with her friends, how she grew as a person. I highly love Madison Kate series, and I love T. James writing. I have a couple other series that are the spin-offs of this, and she's releasing some more. There's also some of her backlist I'm hoping to get to next year. So I guess I'll see you when I have more romance. Oh, it did the yellow thing, didn't it? No, it didn't. This video is kind of all over the place. I have only filmed it in like little chunks, but I'm hoping to get it all together and an opening. But other than that, I'm sorry it's all over the place.
So here's one of the best books I read this year. I just read it, I think in September, The Accidental Pinup, and I gave it 4 stars. Photographer Cassie Harris loves her job. Her company, Buxom Boudoir, makes people look beautiful and feel empowered. With her modern twist of classic pinup photography, Casey's best friend Dana is about to launch her own dangerously dreamy lingerie line and wants Cassie to shoot and direct the career-changing national campaign. But the company politics and Dana's complicated pregnancy interferes, and Casey finds herself a proud plus-size Black woman, not behind the camera, but in front of it. Though she's never modeled herself, Casey's pretty sure she can handle the sheer underwear and caution tape bralettes. She's not sure she can work so intimately with the chosen photographer, her longtime competitor in the Chicago photography scene, Reed Montgomery. Their chemistry is undeniable on set, however, feelings can develop faster than film. So Reed and Casey have been competing for the same jobs around Chicago, and Reed always has gotten chosen, and Casey resents him, and it's kind of like enemies to lovers. It's very good. The reason why I give it 4 stars is because a situation that started at the beginning of the book and drove me nuts, and the way it played out. But it's still one of my top reads of the year. I enjoyed it. She's plus size. It was such a good read. It was a fast read, and I would reread this one. Now, I have read Lore of Olympus Volume 1 and Volume 2, but I'm only going to show you Lore of Olympus 1 because it's the beginning of the story. Scandalous gossip, wild parties, and forbidden love. Witness what the gods do after dark is the stylish and contemporary reimagining of one of mythology's most well-known stories for the creator Rachel Smee, featuring a brand new exclusive short story. Smee's original Eisner-nominated webcomic Lore of Olympus brings the great Greek Pantheon into the modern age with sharp, perceptive, and romantic graphic novel. The collection collects episodes 1 through 25 of webtoon comic Lore of Olympus. So Persephone moves to Olympus. She's been in the human world where it's not as modern. She moves to Olympus to go to school and to get a degree to become I believe a divine maiden. And she meets Hercules at a party, or not Hercules, he hasn't even mentioned, Hades at a party, and it's a slow burn from there. I cried how good this was. It is dark, it is deep, and I cried. Hades' story is sad. Most of the gods hate him because he looks like his father, who did some very bad stuff to the gods. He's in a very abusive relationship. He doesn't know his self-worth, and He's a very good dog lover, and I loved every bit of it. I want more. I have read volume 2, and I gave that a 5 stars as volume 1, but volume 1 made me cry. I was in tears the way it ended. I did not want the story to end. I wanted more. And then the second one, we got more. It's still dark, and we're still going, and Persephone's so young at the start of the series. She's only 19, and Hades is about, I think, if I remember correctly from volume 2, he's 4,000 and something years old. But the other characters and the other relationships and the other romances have made this story as well, and I can't wait to see where the series goes. We have Heartstopper volume 4. I reread the first 3 of Heartstopper the beginning of January, and then I read Heartstopper volume 4 when it came out. So Charlie has been bullied for being gay, got released in his school, and he's been picked on and everything else. He becomes friends with Nick, and they develop a relationship and everything else. And I did love the first 3. They were all 5 stars, but this one, the accepting, the story, the dealing with the mental health issues, and the artwork and everything, I cried. I could not stop. I wanted just to pick the series back up and reread it, which I plan on doing beginning of January, because I think you've already seen Heartstopper volume 5 will come out next year, but we have the Heartstopper yearbook that's come out. But I think it's just a scrapbook, but Heartstopper is amazing, and the stories, even the side stories, the queer representation in this series is absolutely amazing, and I can't get over it. This one made me really sad, and it is a romance, but it's more about loving yourself and your self-worth. But so Laura Dean, the most popular girl in school, was Frederick's Riley's dream girl. Charming, confident, and so cute. There's just one problem. Laura Dean is maybe not the greatest girlfriend. Reeling from her latest breakup, Freddie's best friend Doodle introduces her to the Seek Her, a mysterious medium who leaves Freddie some cryptic parting words break up with her. But Laura Dean keeps coming back. As their relationship spirals further out of control, Freddie has to wonder if it's really Laura Dean that's the problem. Maybe it's Freddie, who's rapidly losing her friends, including Doodle, who needs her now more than ever. Fortunately for Freddie, there are new friends and insight of the advice columnist Anne Weiss to help her through being a teenager in love. So it is a dark story in different ways, but like I said, it is a romance, but it is more loving yourself and finding what you're worth. Laura Dean is a popular girl. She can have anyone she wants, and she'll break up with her, and then a couple days later, when she sees Freddie hanging out with someone new or talking to someone, she goes straight back, and it's been a cycle of their relationship. And it's just a very endless cycle. I did cry. It was amazing, the story, but even her realizing what's going on with her friends and determining what her self-worth was and if she was putting up with this relationship was amazing, and I couldn't stop crying at the end of this book. Well, this graphic novel, but the artwork was stunning too. I loved the artwork. So we have one of my favorites of the year's paybacks, A Witch. So Emmy Harlow's a witch, but not a very powerful one, in her part because she hasn't been home to the magical town of Thristle Grove in years. Her self-imposed exile has a lot to do with a complicated family history and a desire to forge her own way in the world, and the only very teeniest bit to do with Garth Blackmore, heir to the most powerful magical family in town, and casual breaker of hearts and destroyer of dreams. But when the spell-casting tournament that her family serves as the arbitrators for approaches, turns out the pull of tradition or truly impressive parental guilt trip that comes with it is strong enough to bring Emmy back. She's determined to do her familial duty, spend some quality time with her best friend, Lyndon Thorne, and get back to her real life in Chicago. On her first night home, Emmy runs into Talia Armov, all around badass, adept in the darker magical arts, who is fresh off a breakup with Garth Blackmore. Talia has let her be herself, charmed only to discover that Garth was also seeing Lyndon, unknown to either of them, and now she and Lyndon want revenge. Only one question stands: is Emmy in? So the best way I could describe this book is John Tucker Must Die, Triwizard Tournament plus queer. I loved Emmy. It talked about her relationship with Garth, and then you would get flashbacks, and even Talia's relationship with Garth it talked about, and the best friends, Lyndon. It's a very good magical world. It's very contemporary. It's cool and refreshing, and I absolutely adore. I do planning on rereading it next year and then continuing on with the series. Now for my favorite romance duology I read. It is a series, but each series is a mini duology. So, A Warrior Princess in Isolation. Laura is driven by two certainties. The first, that King Aaron of the Bridge Kingdom is her enemy, and the second is that she'll be the one to bring him to his knees. The only route through a storm-raging world, the Bridge Kingdom enriches itself and deprives its rivals, including Laura's homeland. So when she's sent as a bride under the guise of peace, Laura is prepared to do whatever it takes to fracture its intimate defenses and the defense of its king. Yes, as she infuriates her new home and gains a deeper understanding of the war to possess the bridge, Laura begins to question whether she's the hero or the villain, and as her feelings for Aaron transforms from frosty hostility to fierce passion, Laura must choose which kingdom she'll save and which kingdom she'll destroy. And then here is the duology, the second book, The Kingdom, The Traitor Queen. I also gave a 5-star. Now, I didn't continue on because I enjoyed my experience of reading these two books together. It made it so much fun, and I understood all of it. And it was such an experience to read. I finished both of these in a day, and I couldn't stop wanting to go back to it. Laura she's been sheltered. She and her sisters have been training to become Aaron's queen. And whoever gets there basically has to find the secrets of his kingdom, betray him, and everything else. When she gets there, she starts learning about her father. With the isolation her and her sisters had, they did not know the outside world. They didn't even know their kingdom. They were taken when they were very young girls outside of her father's harem. And it's unique because she goes back and she learns everything, and she learns more stories. You only meet the girls, which eventually, I think one of them coupled up, and it did talk about one of her sisters coupling up, and then you introduced her other sisters. The next duology is about her brother, her full sibling brother, not her half sibling, because her sisters are half. They all share the same father, different mothers. So that is her full sibling, which you meet in the second book. But even with Aaron, his people have been protecting the Bridge Kingdom. They protect everything. His people are not allowed to leave because of the secrets of his kingdom. They can go for a short time, but they always have to go back. So it's a clashing of worlds and perspectives, and learning who truly is the worst kingdom, and discovering, like she said, is she the hero or the villain? And I love their relationship. The chemistry straight on in both books have been absolutely amazing, and I am planning to reread them so I can read this when book 4. I think book 4, this is a prequel novel, which I'm planning to read next year, but I don't even know when book 4 is coming out. It says expect publication January 1st. I think the audiobook might be out. I might be wrong. I thought the audiobook was out for this, but I do think it'll come. At least we'll get it next year. But I just don't know what time. So I do planning on rereading and reading the novella once the 4th book comes out, then continuing on with the next duology. I don't know if I'm looking forward to the next duology, but I can't replace these two characters. The chemistry alone, the story and the world building was amazing, and in the next duology we'll be dealing with two different kingdoms. So, or at least, yeah, we'll be dealing with two different kingdoms, and parts of the story will continuation on to the next duology. So you'll see that's the end of the romances on the computer. I will see you for the end of the video. That is it for day 14 of Bookmas. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know some of your top romances or top reads of the year. I'd love to get recommendations. I will see you tomorrow. I hope you're having a good December. Bye for now.